Jude, and I'm going to be reviewing Iron Widow by Xiran Jay Zhao as I paint some fan art relating to the book. So let's start. Iron Widow follows Wu Zetian, a girl who enlists to become a pilot for mecha suits known as chrysalises. After her sister dies at the hands of her pilot partner, Zetian takes it upon herself to avenge her sister and all the women who die at the hands of these male pilots. The way the suits function is crucial to the story. In a chrysalis, it is run by a male and female pilot through a psychic connection. The chrysalises are controlled through this mental battle between both pilots, and almost every time the woman loses this battle, and it takes up so much of a pilot's life force that they end up dying. That is, until Zetian enlists and commands a chrysalis alongside one of the strongest colonels, beating him in a battle of mental strength. She is deemed the Iron Widow after this. Iron Widows are female pilots who can sacrifice boys to power up the chrysalises instead. In order to keep Zetian under control, the military pairs her with Li Shimin, one of the most dangerous pilots of all. By working with Shimin, Zetian tries to deconstruct the pilot system and stop more girls from being sacrificed like her sister was. This book was amazing. It had such a compelling plot and world, and Wu Zetian is unlike any character I've seen. She's like the ultimate girl boss. She's amazing. I really loved her as a character. She laughs in the face of authority and spits on the systems placed to hold her back from her potential. Misogyny is a recurring theme in this book. It's at the forefront of every conflict and at the core of every antagonist Zetian faces. In this story, we witness Zetian break barriers and burn the world that these misogynistic men have created. Another thing I loved the most about this book were the three main characters. Xiran writes such likable characters despite the fact that we are given so many reasons to dislike them. They just keep murdering people, but you know what? We love them anyway. I usually don't read many books where characters are so morally gray or just downright immoral, but I loved it. It was so interesting to see each character was so complex and has such intricate backstories that played into making up who they are. They were more than their appearances. I loved Li Shimin. He's tall and intimidating, but he was extremely awkward in some moments, and I have a soft spot for characters like that. They look incredibly intimidating, but they're actually just have a big heart on the inside. Not only that, but there's just a lot of depth to his backstory as well. But I won't go into that because that's a spoiler, and this is a spoiler-free review. The other character that I also liked was Gao Yise, a scholar who you'll probably be swooning over by the end of the first chapter because of how much he cares for Zetian. He is so dedicated to her, and he loves her, I guess you could say. Their relationship is really sweet and nice, but also very complicated. I don't know how to explain it, but it was very good. I liked him as well. And did I also mention that these three characters, Zetian, Gao Yise, and Li Shimin, are all in a polyamorous relationship? That's one aspect of the book that's handled very well. There's no miscommunication tropes that often happens in love triangle type situations. No, this love triangle ends up being a whole love triangle, love polyamorous relationship basically. There's no who's gonna be with who. They're all together. And the characters, they handled everything very maturely with the relationships. They had such strong communication, and nothing was left out that they felt insecure of the other, which I really liked because that's also a very common conflict in the romance part of books. So I liked that a lot. They just were very mature, and they grew in the presence of each other's love and support. There's also a number of issues addressed from this book that are handled very well, such as gender inequality and how people treat women. Addiction is also mentioned, and abuse. So before you do read, check the trigger warnings for any specific triggers, but those are topics that are mentioned and handled very well when touched on. You can tell that a lot of time and research was put into creating this book, and also that you can see Xiran's personal and historical knowledge of Chinese culture can be seen in this book very heavily, and that was so cool. And when I found out the book was based on one of the only female Chinese emperors, I thought that was so cool. That's such a cool inspiration to draw from. I really like it when books take things from real life and then just spin it into a whole world of their own. That I love that. And it was just such a thrilling experience to read this book. I just kept turning the page. I read it in one sitting because it was just so good. And I can't believe I had to wait I don't know, what is it, 2022 for the sequel? I can't wait. I'm impatient. It was so good. If you haven't read Iron Widow, take this video as your sign too, because it was amazing and I highly recommend it. But that was my review of Iron Widow, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace!